Okay, my name is Jessica, and I'm gonna present to you my project. My project is a game. Um, I'm gonna show you how it works. This is the main form. It's a welcome form. And this is has a label to describe the form. It has a picture that explains how the game is. The instructions are in a different form that it's called functions form, and the instructions are the following. You have to enter at least the name of two players. The application will display the player's name and their score. The host will ask once of the player who wants to go first, and the person who gets right will decide what choice to play. If you guess wrong, points will be deducted from your score. If you guess right, you will get points added to your score. And the player with the most points will be the winner at the end. So it has this back button that will take you back to the welcome form, that it's the main page. And it also has this button that it's the play button, and it takes you to the number of players form. It also has a title, and it has a label to describe the text box, and it has three buttons. Here, the enter will, when you input the number of players, which are from 2 to 4 players that you can input. You can make it for more, but I decided to make it for only 4 players. I guess that's a good amount of people playing this game. And then you would click enter, and it would appear some input boxes depending on the amount of players that you put. Like if you put 2, you will have 2 input boxes, and if you put 3, you will receive 3 input boxes, and if you have 4, you will receive 4 input boxes. It also has this back button that takes you to the main page, the Welcome to Jeopardy. It also, I forgot to tell you that it has this menu that it exit the form. And let's go again. So we're gonna start with 2 players. So we're gonna click enter, and then we're gonna put some names for the players. And see, it shows you 2 input boxes. So now we click enter, and then next, and see, now we have the form board, and we will have the player number 1, which we got the name of the player from the input box number 1, and we got the name of the second player from the input box number 2. And here it will display the scores depending on the questions that they answer. For example, if they choose the movies category for 200, they will click on the 200, and then it would have a picture, and it will display the label for the question, and it will be the picture above what movie is it from. Then the player number 1 will choose the answer, or player number 2. So let's get the one for player number 1. So player number 1, and then the player would click it, and now you see that it's not available to get another answer, so it's turned for player number 2. So the player number 2 would choose Harry Potter and the Chambers of Secrets, and then click on the player number 2, and then from there they will go to the back button, which take you back to the form board. And now you can see that the first player was right because he got the 200 points from the category, and the player number 2 got minus 200 points because he got the wrong answer. Then you will continue, and every single one has a different question and answers, and also some include pictures and some do not. So for example, the question for this one is, who does the voice of Donkey in the Spanish version of Shrek? So it's Eugenio Derbez, and player number 1 chooses Eugenio Derbez, and player number 2 would get Eddie Murphy, or like just see how it works. If it chooses the two. It would choose for the two players. They can choose the same one. So they will click on the back button and see now the player number 1 has 600 points because of the 200 points in this category and the 400 points on this one, so they add up to be 600 points. Since this one had minus 200 points from the first question, taken off minus, the second question was 400 points, so it replaces for that. It adds up for that. And each of them have a different one. Like this one, it's from a scary movie to that Annabelle, and player number 2, for example, the woman in black. So they will click the back button and see, how it works. It keeps subtracting if we get the wrong answers, and it keeps adding up the points for the person that guesses right the answer, and so on and so on. This one will be Paul Walker, and let's give a chance to player number 2, and let's give it the answer for player number 1. Then click the back button and see how this one is 400 points and this one is 400 points, so they're now even. So let's see, like, what does the voiceover laugh in Frozen? So they choose the voice or the person that they think that the voice is. And now you see that the second player got it right now. So it adds up, and then that it's different options like multiplication. It has keeps getting harder, and until you get to the 1,000 points. Also, it has questions from history, like year of World War I, and that will be I believe it's 1914. No, it's this one, 1917 to 1918. Let's see if they get it right, and I think they got it wrong. I think they did. Year of World War II. So let's get this one for player number 1 and this one for player number 2, and see how it works. See, this one got it right and this one got it wrong. So there's also questions about music, like who sings the song Blank Space. So you choose for one and for the other one, and that's basically how it works. Like it's a game that you choose the answers, and so that's how it works. And like this, and then you click that. So who won or I think it was Germany, right? It was Germany. And then let's put the USA. So it will give points. So and so on and so on, until you finish all of the categories, and you will finish at the end. And now after that, well, the player that has the most points after you finish all of this, for example, let's pretend that we did all of them and already, and the finish was Katy Perry, and it's just, let me select all of them so you can basically see what would it be at the end. So you would do this, hit all the buttons, and then this will be the end. Nothing else to click, no more buttons to click on. And well, those are the scores. So for example, in this case, player number 1 lost the game and player number 2 won the game. So now let's go back and let me show you how my code works in the back. What's the code? Discuss a little bit of the code. So first, this is the um, main form. So it has the instructions buttons and the play buttons, like I mentioned before. It has a little bit of code on the back, basically more for the buttons. This is for the button instructions, and it will take you to, it's declaring that it's the button instructions. So this button will take you to the form instructions, and this one, the button play, will take you to the form number of players. That is the next form. So let me take you to the form of instructions, so you can see the form. And this is the form of the instructions, and it has a back button that will take you to the main form. This one doesn't have much of the code on the back. It's just basically for the back button, and then that one will take you back to the form like this. And now it will take you from, if you click the button play, it will take you to the form of the number of players that it's right here. And this will be the form. Like I mentioned before, it has 3 buttons, and it has label to display to describe the form, and also a label to describe what the text box is. There's a little bit of code on the back of this one, and it's basically declaring the variables here. They're declaring it, the end count, the players, the string error title that will be like for the message box, and it will be the player number, the number of players in the game. And this one is converting the int player number of players into the text number of players. So basically what you input on the text number of players would become into this. It will be stored in this, and this will be used in this if while loop to continue increasing the number of players, or like you to select which players and what things to show you. For example, this one is if you get in the case, this is the case statement. Well, where if you choose 2 players, it would display an input box for player number 1 and an input box for player number 2. And then this is a case statement where if you choose 3, a number of players, it will display 3 input boxes for player number 1, for player number 2, and for player number 3, and so on. Like this other example here, it's for if you choose 4 players, and it will give you an input box for player number 1, player number 2, player number 3, and player number 4. And when it finishes that, if you don't, like I mentioned before, it has a message box, and you have to input an integer number from 2 to 4. So it will display that message if you don't input from 2 to 4. It would display that, and it will focus on the text number of players, the text box number of players, and it would clear it, so you can put a different number from 2 to 4. Then this is displaying the error messages. Again, like if you don't choose a right number. Then this is the back button, which take you like back to the welcome form. That is the beginning, or the next button, the button title next, that takes you to the form board. where is the game, where the game is. And now let me show you the board form. It's basically like this. It's a form that has labels. This is for the names of the students or the participants. This is for the amount, the scores that they will get. And these are the buttons that display the categories: movies, multiplication, history, music, sport, and sports. And each of them has 4 categories. 5, I believe. I'm sorry, I didn't get to see the last one. And it's from 200 to 1,000 points, and each of them has a different picture on it. So, I'm sorry. When you click on one of the buttons, well, let me click on the form to see everything. Well, for example, this one is telling you that when in the case of 2 players, there would only be the label for player number 1 visible, and the label for the player score that also visible. And this one, it's only displaying the label for the player number 2. So what you input on the input box, it would be here, and it would be stored on the label, and as well as the score, it will be stored on the label player score. And if you do it with 3 people participants, it will do the same, but for 3 people. And for the 4 option, it would also do it for 4 people. And it's basically like I mentioned before in case number 1 and 2. It displays the label for the player name that you input on the input box, and the form number of players, and then it will be stored on the label, and it will be displayed on the board, on the form board, and also the score that they will be getting after each question that they answer correctly, or if they answer wrong, points will be deducted. This will be with player number 2, player number 3, and player number 4. And that's how it works. And let me show you more to the bottom. These are the movies section. This is a movie. So this and choice, I'm gonna come back to that later in the other form that I'm gonna show you, that it's called the questions form. And also this is the button, the name of the buttons. This is the name for the first button. It's button movies 200. The 200 is for the 200 points. And this one also, the movies button movies 400. So that's for the buttons and the points to describe them. And well, like I mentioned, this is the section for the movie. It is from 1 to 5. And the multiplication, it's from 6 to 10. And also the history part of the form is from 11 to 15. The music part, it's from 16 to 20. And the last is the sports section, that it's from 21 to 25. And here we have the submenu, like I mentioned that all the forms have it. It's a quick way out of the form. And well, this is calling the movies. This button is for this is the button, and this is the name of the button, and this is in choice, so it's the choice number 1 and choice number 1, and this will refer to the pictures as well, and this will refer to the questions, which question will go with which button, and they're in a different form, but they will be called into this form. and every time the person clicks on the button, and it would call it out. And also for button number 2, 3, and 4, until you finish with all the buttons. It's a kind of repeating process for each of the buttons. Let me go to the very bottom to this explain a little bit more, and that basically finishing with question number 25. And let me take you to the form that it's called questions. That's where our questions are, and they're being called to that form board. And let me show you or explain to you what this form basically is. This part is the text box, and it's called pick guess, and this one's labeled to display the question of the questions that are related to each button, and these ones are the radius buttons, and these ones are the buttons for the players and a button to go back to the form board. And let me show you to also the submenu to exit the form. Let me show you a little bit of the back code, and this is basically it. Like I mentioned before, this is for the in choice one. Remember that I told you that the button for the question number 1 called in choice and then 1. So it's calling this one, the one is being stored on the in choice, and it's being called on the form board. And then the pick guess dot image equals to the first picture, the one from Harry Potter and Cedric. And this, the LBL question dot text, is displaying the label for the question, the picture above, what movie is it from, and then it has 3 different options, or radius buttons, and also this is for the in choice number 2, so this one is referring to button number 2, and again it has a different picture, and it has a label, LVL question, and it's asking who does the voice of Donkey in the Spanish version of Shrek, and it has the different options, and you do that for every button. That there are 25 buttons, so all of them have different questions and answers. And at the very bottom, all of them are the buttons, or what the buttons are calling for. And this is for player number 1. For example, every time that a button with the player number 1 is clicked for whichever option or question, so each player has 25. So this is a really long code. It's repetitive, but it's a really long code. So this, for example, I'm gonna use the example for player number 1. The in choice ones will be the first button that the form board is calling, is determining, well, what this code is determining if the user gets right. So this is making sure what the answer is. So for example, the first answer is wrong, so it has some minus 200, so it's that one. If the student or the person got that one, that would take off 200 points from their score. Or if the student get the second option, where it's a positive 200, the 200 will be added to the scoreboard under their name. And it also would do that for in choice number 2. So each of the players knows, so there are 4 players, each of them have this code for each of the questions that they're being answered in this game. So there are 25 for each, and you get to see 600 points, minus 600, and 600, and minus 600. So for this, the in choice number 8, it will be the second option. So that's basically how you code for the answers. And later you get to see, well, we're still not finished, I believe, with player number 1. This is there, player number 1, and then this is making it to add points to the label that they have, depending on what they chose. And this is for player number 2. So each player has its own codes for each of the questions. And now we get to player number 3, and then we click. Oh, you see how it declares at 9 points, star and 0. And then there's the player for number 4 player, and also the same for each of the questions, like I mentioned before, for player number 1. And after that, well, this is for the back button, and it takes you back to the phone board and hides this one. Well, that will be the question. It hides the question when you click the back button. And that's basically it for my code. I hope that it was okay, that you liked it. And some of the questions that we have to answer is tell us why you did this program. So like I mentioned before in the beginning, I thought that this program or this type of form will be interesting to try to do it. And well, I liked it. I think it was pretty interesting. And what can I tell you? I liked it a lot because it was, I don't know, fun, and it was a game. It wasn't much of a boring form. And then I had a problem really bad with this one because I didn't know how to put all the pictures from the questions into the text box, to the picture box, I'm sorry, and not to display them all at once. So I didn't want them to be overlapping. I want them to be like on the resources folder, and then from the code I wanted to call for the pictures for each question that I would need it for. So I had a problem with that this morning, and I figured out later that you have to add the picture and then add the picture to the picture box, and then go back to the properties and click for the none, like to display none, and that way it would be saved into the resources. So it was interesting to know. Like my dad always tells me, when you have a hard time with something, you will learn it at the end. Even if you have a hard time trying to do it, at the end it will pay off because you will know how to do it and it won't happen to you again. And well, if we had time, if we have something to improve, maybe the fact that maybe to put one of the players, only one player. I don't know, maybe not all of the people would want to play with other people, with a partner or something. Maybe somebody would want to play it by themselves, but that wasn't something that I thought at the beginning. But well, this game is played by 2 or 3 persons, so it's okay, I think. It's good to have more players on the game. And thank you for watching, and that's it. Thank you.